he is playing Elves, which is a combo deck built around Glimpse of Nature.
Does he have Grand Prix top 8 success?
I don't know if it was like JSS's or Grand Prix or whatever, but he definitely was a player on the rise way back in the day. Never quite put it all together, but still shows up in tournaments and obviously running deep in this one.
Yeah.
Rory taking a mulligan.
Yeah. Kyle there on the left. He had an interesting build yesterday. I forget exactly what it was, but he was on my radar as someone with a weird deck yesterday as well. Didn't have he was X2 early, and so I didn't put him on camera. But today obviously he's also got an interesting build, and also this time much more likely that we're going to put him on camera because he's in contention for top 8.
So the big piece that this deck, the Jund deck, picks up for legacy play is Himnatorak.
Yeah.
Which is a substantially better Blightning, basically.
Yes. Himnatorak obviously comes down a turn sooner. Also got better art.
Yes.
In my opinion. You also pick up Scavenging Ooze when you port over to Legacy.
Yeah.
Even though it's a new bordered card, you obviously can't play it in Modern. Gives you much needed life gain and additional graveyard hate.
Yes. Kyle Dunne on Jund, but if I were to sit down, based on beard alone, I would have guessed Charbelcher.
Yes. Yep. I think that's a fair call to make when you sit down and make a snap judgment.
I would have to guess it.
Corey, on the other hand, or not Corey, Rory, on the other hand, I don't know. When you sit down from
Esper Blade guy,
Esper Stoneblade with the hoodie and the hat,
yeah, sideways hat,
yeah,
big tell.
So both these players probably going to be surprised by the other one. Raging Ravine
from Kyle,
strong legacy card.
But a lot of what Kyle has going on in this deck between the man lands and the attrition elements, Bloodbraid Elf, his deck's actually pretty robust against control decks with Planeswalkers. He has a lot of ways to attack those decks. Yeah. The Land War Elf from Rory, a pretty clear sign of Elves.
Yeah. I forget who said it, but someone said that the most terrifying play for a long time in Legacy was turn 1 Land War Elf because no one knew how to deal with it.
Yeah. My instinct would be to kill it, but
yeah, immediately.
Yes. It does not take a lot in terms of mana and cards for the Elves deck to go off. The big law jam obviously is Glimpse of Nature. That's sort of the straw that stirs the drink.
Yeah.
Once you have that online with not that much mana or cards, it's pretty easy to generate if not infinite, then overwhelming board.
Yeah.
So
Dark Confidant for Kyle on turn 2. Interesting note: 3 Deathrite Shaman in Rory's deck. That's an elf.
I did not know. Another nice addition to the deck.
As if it weren't good enough already, it also has the tribal bonus.
Rory's Elf deck also has something a little bit different in that he has crop rotation in his build that facilitates a variety of utility lands. Pendlehaven, a couple like Bayous and Savannas for his sideboarded cards.
It also lets him rebuy a Gaia's Cradle.
Yeah, Cradle, which is a huge part of how this deck gets the sufficient mana to go off.
Yeah. He's also running 2 Gitaxian Probe, which is something I have never seen before at all.
Yeah, I mean, it's most combo decks, I mean, it's obviously valuable to know when the coast is clear, and Gitaxian Probe's also basically free.
Right.
So it doesn't take much justification for me to feel like, yeah, that's probably fine to add to your deck.
No, it's absolutely fine. I just haven't happened to see it before. It's an interesting one.
Yeah. So let's see what we're going to see here.
Rory's...
I don't think Rory has... It does not look like he has Glimpse, so I don't think he can actually go off from here.
The good thing about Elves, though, is that it can also just audible into the beatdown plan. If you get enough 1/1s in play, sometimes just attacking for, 5 a turn.
Oh, certainly, yeah, with especially with the Lord.
Yeah, probably not going to work against Jund, which has a great breadth of creatures. But, you attack into a Dark Confidant sometimes.
Yeah. So we're going and we're crop rotating for our Cradle.
That taps for 3 right now with the Dryad Arbor, Llanowar Elf, and Birchlore Ranger.
So that's how we started off the mana here. We tapped Forest, or we did tap?
We tapped. I believe we tapped Forest. I'm not sure actually.
And then the Elf cast Birchlore Ranger. And now we have.
guy.
It looks like his remaining cards are Elvish Visionary and Green Sun Zenith.
That's what it looks like to me.
He just drew Wirewood Symbiote, which is awesome with Elvish Visionary in play.
Yeah. That allows him to sort of mini combo and not really need the Glimpse of Nature right away. It allows him to just reuse the Visionary over and over again to sort of, have a fake Underworld Connections or Phyrexian Arena.
Yeah, he doesn't have to actually fully go off. I wasn't a huge fan of Rory emptying out his hand right here because he didn't really develop his board too much and didn't find, and as Dark Confidant reveals Eternal Witness, left himself without enough leftovers to go off if he ripped Glimpse next turn. But certainly finding Wirewood Symbiote on his last draw made that sequence awesome because now he has a little engine going.
Absolutely.
So another Wooded Foothills.
Yeah, that Eternal Witness, not exactly the card Kyle wanted to find on top. It's not very good in this matchup.
Yeah, if the game drags out, it's nice for getting back bolts to pick apart the hand, but the game isn't played on that slow of an axis if Rory's deck is doing what it's trying to do.
Yeah. Elves is a deck that's sort of fallen off in popularity. It was picking up in popularity for a little while, and then once Terminus came out.
Terminus is rough. I know that when Reanimator was the hot news, Reanimator also did a lot to suppress this deck because both Iona and Elish Norn are disasters for this deck.
Right.
But, Reanimator sort of receded from the metagame, and there's a little bit less miracles now that Abrupt Decay is keeping counterbalance check, etc., so.
Ooh, Hymn to Torok is going to take out the last remaining cards of Rory's hand, it appears. Unless Rory wants to
Symbiote back something to cushion.
To spin the wheel and hope to save something.
Yeah.
I think that's a little bit ambitious.
But now with Symbiote Visionary online, this game's actually going at a pretty bad pace for Kyle because he can't really attack with his Confidant because, it just trades with one of Rory's knuckleheads.
Right.
And he isn't really pressuring Rory on any axis.
Rory is going to untap. Look at that.
All right, so he's going to...
Yeah, so he's going to try and turn that, I guess, at this point, somewhat useless Llanowar Elf.
Yeah, Rory has a Green Sun Zenith in his hand that he's trying to cover against the hand.
Right.
And since the Elf's pretty redundant, I think it's a worthwhile gamble. He lost Green Zenith, Llanowar Elf.
All right. So he got to keep something that wasn't what he... I
believe it was a Fyndhorn Elf was the last card.
Fyndhorn Elf? Yeah, that's too bad. Too bad for Rory. But he tried. I guess the Green Sun Zenith would have been more valuable than the Llanowar Elf that he ended up getting rid of.
So, adds some mana.
It looks like he has a Nettle Sentinel is what the other card is here. That's going to start going nuts with the Birchlore Ranger activation, which is going to be fairly nice. Wirewood Symbiote activates to return Elvish Visionary to untap Birchlore Rangers.
And for all of you at home watching and wondering how you're supposed to play against elves, assuming they're not going off, killing Wirewood Symbiote and sort of, the fair games, that's sort of the hub that allows all this, incremental building of resources that you're seeing Rory do right now. It's what makes all of that possible. Yeah. So that's definitely one of the guards you want to pinpoint.
Yeah, you definitely want to be taking out the bug as soon as you see it, because as soon as you get 2, 3, 4 activations out of it, it gets a little bit out of reach. As we've seen, Rory's drawn several extra cards. He just got Hymn to Torok and is still able to play Magic.
Yeah, and Kyle's already taken 5 from the Hymn and his Confidant reveals. You have to assume that he's thinking about getting frisky here. I would not send the Symbiote because that card's too valuable.
No, the Symbiote, of course not. The Dryad Arbor seems reasonable.
Yeah, I mean, I think Dryad Arbor and Birchlore Rangers are both fine to attack with here.
Nope, he's just going to play a Fyndhorn Elf.
Just leaving himself with the maximum amount of mana. A Abrupt Decay, which is a good reveal for Kyle.
Yep, and that's almost certainly going to take out Wirewood Symbiote.
Yeah.
Assuming Kyle knows what's going on here. Although Kyle may be stuck on lands. Doesn't look like it. I think I saw another land in his hand. Yeah, bolt.
He's going to bolt.
And with the last activation, He's going to return the Visionary to be able to rebuy another card.
A Tarmogoyf and passes the turn back. Goyf is land, instant, sorcery, creature, I assume.
Yep.
4/5.
4/5.
Yep.
And at some point during this match, Kyle's hoping that the Tarmogoyf just turns into the Abyss.
Yes.
Which won't be immediately, but
Yeah, the problem is it's going to take Kyle an awfully long time to be able to like whittle through because Rory's deck is capable of generating a bunch of chump blockers.
Yeah.
Now without Visionary Symbiote going, the big challenge for Rory is to try to maintain enough resources where in hand, where if he draws Glimpse, he can sort of just go. But against a deck that has Ham and Inquisition, it's also pretty dangerous to try to leave a bunch of resources in your hand.
yeah,
So
I would. That
Rory's-
absolutely makes sense.
Rory's sort of rocking a hard place here a little bit. And this is all, presupposes he draws
Draws any
Glimpse,
glimpse of nature. Yeah. Which he doesn't. He draws Llanowar Elf.
Well, we certainly can't attack. I mean, I think we have to just start this turn off by playing Elvish Visionary.
Yeah,
Yes.
you have to just draw cards before get all your options out on the table before you make any rash decisions.
All right, so the Cradle's going to tap for 5, play Elvish Visionary, finds a Windswept Heath. I'd probably just play Windswept Heath and say go. You want to leave the Llanowar Elf back in your hand in case you draw Glimpse.
Yeah.
Can't really attack. Adding the Llanowar Elf doesn't appreciably change your board.
Yeah, Kyle successfully ground this game to a halt. Right where he wants it.
Dark Confidant finds Inquisition of Kozilek.
Card's real good against elves.
Yes. Yeah.
Even now.
Yeah. No end of cheap cards you want to disrupt. And yeah, he's got a pretty good setup between Inquisition, Lightning Bolt, and some cheap spot removal. He's pretty well configured for this matchup. He doesn't have any permission, which means that Elves' most explosive draws are probably outside of his range, but assuming they don't have their best hands.
Then he's well set up.
Yeah.
Especially for these mid-rangey kind of hands where he's trying to perhaps build a beat-down strategy where it's just not even realistically possible. Once anything
Another Goyf?
slightly bigger than a 1/1 comes into play.
Yep.
Kyle now has 2 The Abyss in play. Things looking grim for the Elves player.
I'm trying to see what his huge draws are from here.
Well, he can certainly draw Regal Force.
Yeah. Regal Force would be awesome.
Regal Force or Green Sun Zenith.
Yeah.
Mirror Entity.
Yeah, he actually has enough mana with Mirror Entity where he can just start. He might just actually just kill.
Yeah.
That's in the deck as part of
Part of the combo.
comboing out. But yeah, from here it's just I got Guy's Cradle and 6 dudes in play. Yeah,
Right, exactly.
just to start attacking.
This becomes a little bit like Craterhoof Behemoth in Standard.
Yeah.
Sure, it's a million mana, but you're also dead.
Rory moving his creatures around.
Did not see what he got. He did not slam it on the table, so I don't think it's one of our outs. It is a land.
Confidant reveals Badlands.
So Kyle now is able to Bloodbraid Elf, should he so choose if he has one. Although I don't think he needs to. I think he'd rather just keep Abrupt Decay open to be able to cut combos off midway.
Yeah, playing Bloodbraid Elf is actually a fairly big risk because you can just flip over a blank and then get killed by Mirror Entity.
Yeah. Even if you don't flip over a blank, even if you flip over something relevant like Lightning Helix, or not Lightning Helix, Lightning Bolt, then it's still bad.
Yeah. Yeah, at this point he's not lacking for pressure. So yeah, Dryad Arbor's going to chump block. Glyph's going to come in for 4.
Is this a Liliana of the Veil, perhaps? Nope, this is an Eternal Witness to get back Lightning Bolt.
Yep.
Like we said earlier, even though it was not very good at the time, the game developed to such a point where it did become good.
Yeah, no, he's, once the board's been stabilized a little bit, then he might have the time for those kind of plays. He has a bunch of good cheap cards to get back, too.
Yes. People have said often that Jund is the kind of deck where if you draw the wrong half of your deck, you're in a very, very bad spot. It just so happens that Kyle didn't draw the Lilianas, for example, that would have been pretty bad here, or the Bloodbraid Elves, which would have been pretty bad here.
Yeah, well, I mean, what's nice about the Legacy card pool is, this Jund deck, for example, can be built without too much in the way of situational cards. Himnatorak and Lightning Bolt and Abrupt Decay less so, but certainly him and Bolt are hard to be upset when you turn over to a Bloodbraid Elf. So Rory drew his card.
Yeah, he can prolong this game for a while with chump blockers, but he's going to need one of his heavy hitters to actually swing the game in his favor.
It's also reasonable for, he actually might have some attacks this turn, because he has enough chump blockers back. And
that's true. And Kyle only has a pair of 2/1s as defenders.
I'm not sure what Rory drew. I thought I saw crop rotation, but I'm not positive.
Crop rotation would be a nice little combat trick to go get Pendelhaven.
Yep. Although now with Rory aware of Lightning Bolt, yep, we're gonna get in with the Now Sentinel and the Eternal Witness will trade.
I think that Kyle's very happy with that.
Yep. Oh, Priest of Titania.
Priest of Titania. As if we didn't have enough mana before. Ooh, Bloodbraid Elf drops Kyle to 6. So Rory's not out of this game.
Yep. Particularly if Kyle doesn't anticipate Regal Force.
Yes.
Yeah, it is definitely, for as little as Rory has done, the game is oddly still in play.
Dark Confidant makes games exciting, man.
Yeah.
I want more of that card.
A coverage person's dream, that's for sure.
Yes. Rory's going to drop to 4, it looks like.
Yeah, willing to risk the 2 bolts since he probably can't beat 2 bolts anyway.
Yep,
okay,
and there they are.
And I think that plays totally fine by it.
Yeah.
Because how are you going to go off against 2 lightning bolts with no board?
Right.
So no point in stressing on it. Sideboard.
That's right. And for Kyle has 2 Pernicious Deeds. I imagine those will be coming in, as will the Umezawa's Jite.
Yes.
That's probably
Pyroclasm.
Oh, Pyroclasm, yes.
Pyroclasm is another awesome one. So he's got 4 good hits. Rory's deck has a couple copies of Absolute Law, which is medium. It's good against Lightning Bolt and Pyroclasm / other red sleepers if he's anticipating it. 2 copies of Humility, which I'm not a big fan of here, I don't think, because Kyle's not leaning that heavily on his creature's abilities to win the game.
Right.
And he has Maelstrom Pulse or other sort of sweepers to get rid of it when it's offending, and it's a lot of mana. So I assume Humility is more of an anti-show and tell card than a card that Rory's just bringing in against opponents. He has a couple of Abrupt Decays, which I don't particularly like, a couple of Thorns of Amethyst, a Meek Stone, and, not anything too awesome.
Yeah, I think the Meek Stone is really the only card in his sideboard that I really, really like to bring in here.
Yes. Meek Stone does some good work, but again...
I think Absolute Laws are reasonable. Lightning Bolt's a problem. He can suddenly block Bloodbraid Elves all day.
Yeah, between Abrupt Decay, both being black-green removal and being able to kill Absolute Law, and Kyle's creature base isn't even particularly red. It's
True.
Ooze, Deathrite Shaman, Confidant, only really Bloodbraid. I think Absolute Law is probably not worth
Pretty
bringing
poor.
in here. Yeah. Especially because you're a Glimpse of Nature combo deck, anytime you're cutting
Creatures
elves
for
to bring
spells, yeah.
it's a huge opportunity cost. So you can really only bring in those cards when they're going to be awesome.
I think Rory just keeps his deck the way it is. Maybe brings in the Meekstone just as one incidental sideboard
Yeah,
card.
I think one Meekstone's fine here.
Yeah, I think that that game definitely could have swung wildly in his favor had the top of his deck been more kind to him when he had the symbiote draw happening.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, he never really found anything big. The only real big draw that he had was Green Zenith, and that got ripped up.
yeah,
So he was just sort of drawing 1/1s, and that's not enough to get it done against most Legacy decks.
meanwhile, Kyle's also pretty happy with how that game went. You know, the unfair deck played a game of fair Magic, and he's way fairer.
Yes. No, and we've seen black, red, green. You know, they've been mostly built around Life from the Loam. We've seen that kind of attrition-y, spot removal sort of engine decks before. His deck's actually even more honest than that because he doesn't have any sort of inevitability engine like Life from the Loam. He just has a bunch of good cards and solid answers to most of the types of cards his opponents are going to play.
Right.
I wonder if Inquisition over Thoughtseize is the concession to the fact that this deck actually deals a fair amount of damage to itself.
To itself, yeah. With Dark Confidants.
Yeah,
mostly.
your fetches, that stuff. To me, it's I'm a huge Thoughtseize fan. I think the card's basically one of the best cards in Legacy. And when I see Inquisition and deck lists over it, I have to assume it's just strictly a concession to the fact that he's got a bunch of these fetches and Dark Confidants in play.
Well, it's also possible that he's not that afraid of anything that costs 4 or more. I mean, Bloodbraid Elf did keep Jace the Mind Sculptor out of Standard while it was around.
Yep.
So, what other things that cost 4 or more are you really that terrified of if you're not even afraid of a Jace?
I mean, there's some combo cards, Time Spiral.
Sure.
There's some stuff, but yeah. If you're not that worried about Jace, then it becomes much easier to justify. Yes, and Bloodbraid was the thing that when Jace got released, a lot of people said no one's going to play with this card because Bloodbraid was
a thing.
very well matched up. But a Wall of Omens and some rotations and Stoneforge Mystic, some equipment later, Jace ended up being one of the most dominant players of all time.
And meanwhile, Bloodbraid Elf is relegated to being only one of the more powerful cards in Modern.
Yes. Still awesome.
Yes.
Any format where you have the time to cast it, it's probably going to be exceptional. Legacy has not traditionally been that kind of format, but if things are slowing down and people are trying to win the game with cards like Deathrite Shaman and Jace, there's no reason that Bloodbraid Elf doesn't belong in that kind of field.
Has definitely been shifting back towards fair decks.
Yes.
In recent months. So with Blue-White Miracles being the most popular deck in recent weeks, recent months, recent opens, fair decks are definitely coming back to the forefront.
Yeah.
Of course, that's not entirely true because we have a Storm in the top 8 now.
Yep. Jacob Corey.
Yep. So Rory Draxler is going to be on the play. Both players kept their opening hands.
Rather. The LA scene has a lot of combo players in it, so not surprising to see Jacob show up with Storm and take it down. More associated with Maverick traditionally, but there are a lot of. If you want to borrow a Storm deck and you live in the Los Angeles area, it's not hard to find one.
Leading with a Dryad Arbor.
Risky business against the Lightning Bolt deck. We'll see.
That's right.
Although
it's possible,
it's possible Kyle. It's possible Rory is actually happy to induce a bolt here. If his hands land heavy and he has 1 or 2 significant pieces, it's not out of the question that he's doing this to actually on purpose to draw out a lightning bolt. It looks like Kyle's just saying go. There's a Pendelhaven.
and Deathrite Shaman. And also Quirion Ranger, which we didn't see last game.
Yes.
Quirion Ranger, he's only got one of in his deck. Very similar to Wirewood Symbiote in form, but not in function.
Yes. It allows you to untap. I believe it's untap an elf by returning a land to your hand.
By returning a forest to your hand.
Returning a forest.
If it was return a land to your hand, oh my, with the Gaia's Cradle turns.
Oh yeah. Yeah, we see a little more of that, I guess.
Yeah.
That's fair.
So he was rewarded for playing the Dryad Arbor on turn 1.
Or at least wasn't punished.
Or wasn't punished.
The reward we'll see.
Yeah. Kyle probably has his... Hymn to Torak. I was going to say, I thought he was going to have his traditional turn 2 Dark Confidant.
Yeah.
But Hymn to Torak's probably better.
Oh no, Hymn to Torak's awesome here because so much of... A, you might tag a glimpse that he's setting up.
Yeah.
And B, the Elves deck is so much about just generating a saturation of resources. The deck sort of has an exponential trajectory once it starts to do its thing, so these hymns can be devastating. So Rory is down.
Two Green Suns in his. Woof.
What a beating.
My goodness. He is not excited about that.
Yeah.
That's rough. Man. Unlucky.
Now, Rory does have Absolute Law on his hand, so he did bring it in. He can cast it this turn off the Deathrite Shaman, one of the lands in Kyle's graveyard. He can eat. But it's unclear how much work that's going to even do. Making a mana.
That is what he's going to do here, it looks like. I think it's a reasonable play. I mean...
Well, the card only gets worse because you're giving him a window. Every turn you don't play it, you're giving him a window to play a red spell to kill something.
Yeah.
So
there it is.
I'm a little surprised by Deathrite Shaman being in the deck. I mean, I know the card's just kind of generally powerful, but it doesn't actually fuel any of the explosive combo elements. It's not making mana.
Yeah, it's just another mana elf.
Yeah, except it's not quite as reliable because it's not like you have a million fetch lands or.
Everybody else does.
Yeah, I guess you can lean on your opponent. So he's using Quirion
to untap his Deathrite Shaman. Replay that land. So that was basically a free Absolute Law. Using the mana once again.
Eating another land.
Heritage Druid. And Heritage Druid.
And in for one.
Yeah, hitting both of those Green Sun Zeniths was so good.
Yep. Because the rest of Rory's hand wasn't that exciting. He was definitely leaning on that to cobble together something real.
Kyle has a ton of lands in his hand.
The Deathrite Shaman can actually be pretty sweet here because, now that the red removal is cut off, Deathrite Shaman can do work suppressing Tarmogoyf if that's a defensive element that Kyle has. And so Rory's actually kind of resistant against a lot of the types of cards Kyle has to try to stabilize the ground and give him time to...
Yeah. He could simultaneously shrink Tarmogoyf and deal damage to Kyle.
Yeah, there's Scavenging Ooze. And another example of Deathrite Shaman checking something. We can send into... What's also nice is we can send into that Scavenging Ooze with our 1/1s because we have Pendelhaven at the ready.
Yep, and there aren't any creatures in the graveyard yet. Yep, and that's probably what's going to happen here.
Well, Deathrite Shaman can't go in.
Yeah, Deathrite Shaman's not going to do it.
Cannot pump a Deathrite Shaman.
Here come 3 1/1s, or maybe not. All right. Make a liar out of me. Just being deliberate, trying to figure out if there's anything he's messing up here.
Yeah, you might as well send, everything except your 1/2 should be coming in here.
Yep. So take 5.
Knocks Kyle down to 12.
And the Deathrite Shaman will put Kyle at a basically 10 life. It'll force Scavenging Ooze to use a mana on Kyle's turn, most likely.
Yeah. Finds a Bayou.
So what's Kyle looking for here at this point? Are we hoping to land Abrupt Decay Pyroclasm?
Pernicious Deed would be insane.
Pernicious Deed would be a very good one.
I mean, if he has land Pernicious Deed, that's everything.
Yeah,
this
that's
turn.
game. Really. It looks like he's just got lots and lots of lands to me.
He's got at least 3 in there. Sax's Bloodstained Mire.
Yet another Bayou. Pretty light on red mana is Kyle. All he really needs it for is Lightning Bolt and Bloodbraid Elf. The rest of it's black-green.
Yeah. He needs a fair amount of black mana to do things like him and Abrupt Decay in the same turn.
Right. Liliana of the Veil
is
very black-hungry.
All right, there's a Tarmogoyf.
That'll sort of stem the bleeding, I suppose. But
it's
again,
so
he's
fully
got
matched up against that
Deathrite Shaman, yeah. That thing's going to become a 1/2, pretty much. Oh no, there's 3 lands and 3 sorceries, so it will not become a 1/2.
Okay, so
Kyle's going to gain himself, not really gain himself some life, but prevent some life loss.
Yep.
By responding to the Deathrite Shaman ability with his own Scavenging Ooze activation.
These are some pretty anemic beatdowns that Rory's putting together, but might be enough to actually take this game.
Yeah, I mean, the Tarmogoyf's not really going to do anything. It's going to stay small. But the longer Rory waits, Kyle's average draw is stronger than Rory's. Rory has some big haymakers, but, you know, the average, normal average everyday 2/2 is better than the normal average everyday 1/1.
So now can he just use the Deathrite Shaman to get both of the sorceries out of the graveyard?
Can he get both?
He can
because he can
Ranger.
untap it.
Yeah, you can untap with Quirion Ranger.
Yeah, that's cool. That sounds reasonable.
Well, I don't know if he can. I don't know if he has enough mana to do this and pump with the Pendelhaven, right? He has.
Well, he'll be able to.
Oh.
Huh. I don't know.
I think he might be short of green.
I think he is short of green. Ooh, he has a Glimpse of Nature in hand.
He might lose his Quirion Dryad here, which is pretty rough. Yeah, he can save
just gonna save
it with Pendelhaven, yeah. But yeah, I think he needed to leave like a Dryad Arbor back on defense.
Yeah, slight miscalculation.
Although I'm a little bit surprised that Kyle didn't block with both creatures. Since there's only one Pendelhaven, you get to eat something. Something dies.
And so he's going to untap and replay his land.
Well, now he can definitely just eat the sorcery and the Tarmogoyf dies.
Yes.
Okay, there we go.
And so he just did it post-combat.
Yeah, okay. All right.
During combat.
That's fine.
We made it more complicated than it really was. Or maybe he did.
Tiger from Kyle.
So many dual lands and not
Nope,
you cast the spell. You cast the spell, sir.
No, it's an illegal target. You get
Oh,
to
it's
back
an
that-
illegal target.
You get to back that up.
Okay, never mind. So there are takesies, backsies here. Tarmogoyf. Yeah, that lightning bolt, not too good right now.
Is now with Rory's Deathrite Shaman not at the ready, he's going to take this opportunity to grow his ooze to a 3/3.
Yeah, grow it past Pendelhaven's size.
Mm-hmm.
Both these players are playing at a fairly measured pace, but there's only 15 minutes left on the clock. I'm not sure Rory has. Well, Rory has the combo potential, so he certainly can win.
He actually has
quickly.
he has Glimpse in hand. He doesn't have doesn't have enough really left over to do anything significant with. But.
Right. Well, this game he's just on the beatdown plan. What
Yeah.
I'm saying is that next game he has the combo potential to be able to try and win a third game in a short amount of time.
Right. I would be cautious about getting too ambitious here if I was Rory. You have a lot of... I mean, now combat's starting to get to the point where it's a little bit ugly because he has a 3/3 ooze. So a gutsy attack. He's going to lose his Deathrite Shaman.
Did he attack with that Deathrite Shaman?
He alpha'd, yeah.
Huh.
He's trying to close the game out, but it's rough here because in the process... So he's going to bolt Rory before damage to try to get the Goyf up to a 2/3.
Yeah.
And now this is the risk. Like, once you lose your Deathrite Shaman, not only does, some things die in combat, so he gets to grow the ooze. Okay, he's going to, inside of combat, he's going to get rid of the Lightning Bolt. Like, making these sort of trades is really risky from Rory's perspective because it has the danger of growing the Tarmogoyf and getting creatures in the graveyard for ooze, which makes it bigger and gives Kyle more time to find a sweeper. And
Yeah, I'm not sure I like that attack on the Deathrite Shaman.
I mean, I understand the desire to close this game out, but now, Kyle has a reasonable life cushion because he gets to gain 2 off the Goyf and the Deathrite Shaman that have died, and now his graveyard's back online as a resource.
Oh, he has
a
another
backup.
Deathrite.
Okay, there's another backup Shaman. Okay,
No, that's fine. But, we're still pretty...
it's some risk.
Yeah, it's a little bit of risk. Although, how many cards can Kyle play reasonably in a turn with his deck?
Sure.
So Kyle can't play all the things to be able... Like, he could play a Bloodbraid Elf into an Abrupt Decay to take out the Deathrite Shaman, but what does that really accomplish?
Yeah.
With only 2 life left, or 4, let's say.
But, what if he just has another creature here? Now it's, Rory can't really attack if he plays a non-red creature. Or it's challenging to attack.
Well, if he plays another creature, then he just activates Deathrite Shaman a bunch of times.
With what? There's only lands in play.
Oh, there are only lands?
There's only lands left in the graveyards
well,
now.
never mind then. Well, he's got Glimpse of Nature in hand, so that's a possible activation.
I guess he has him covered. He can just ship in here.
Yeah, I think so.
I mean, yeah, I guess there's a risk of... Yeah, I guess because Kyle has to act first, that Pendelhaven has it covered no matter what, even if it's a kill spell. Okay.
And that'll be it. So Rory takes game 2 on the beatdown plan.
Yep. He's actually had no choice but to beat down plan both games, as he hasn't had Glimpse plus a setup yet. So,
Yeah.
So Absolute Law was, I guess, medium there.
It was not terrible. It wasn't spectacular.
Yeah. Did a little bit of work. but I mean, I think it's fine to bring an absolute wall here because you actually don't know how many sweepers Kyle has.
Right.
It's possible his sideboard's got a bunch of pyroclasms and volcanic fallouts and that.
Exactly. It's not reasonable to assume that his sideboard only has the one. Like, you don't see Jundin Legacy that often, so who's to say he doesn't have 4x Fire Spout or something like that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I think it's a reasonable. Sometimes we have the benefit of seeing deck lists and being like, why are you bringing it in? He's only got the one pyroclasm, but there's a range of pyroclasm effects that Kyle could reasonably have here, and so it's not bad to want to insure yourself against that. Both players keep.
Wow, that was some quick shuffling up.
Yeah, I like it.
Good job, guys. So Kyle's going to be on the play for this game. Leading with a Badlands, I can only assume that means a discard spell.
Could mean a Deathrite Shaman.
Yeah,
there we go.
Shaman. It is so weird that you could play a mana thing on turn 1 off of your black mana.
Yes. There's nothing sacred.
You and your precious color pie, Mark Rosewater.
I mean, it's sort of a green card, I guess.
Yeah. Sort of.
Not functionally right now, but.
Rory says, I'll have what he's having.
Let's see if we have any big play to ramp into. Liliana of the Veil would be awesome here.
Liliana of the Veil would be amazing here, although it's just going to be a Lightning Bolt.
Dark Confidant. Still an excellent start for Kyle here.
That is a nice turn 2 for Kyle. Second Pendlehaven is what it looks like. No, he only has the one Pendlehaven in the deck, so that was not another Pendlehaven. I'm a liar.
Elvish Visionary. Finds a Nettle Sentinel. Dark Confidant shows a Sylvan Library.
Yeah, when you have a Sylvan Library in play with your Dark Confidant, that's when things really get fun.
Yeah. Sylvan Library, just another card that, if Kyle can sort of slow and stabilize the game, powerful enough to take it over.
So now we get to see what we're working with. Inquisition of Kozilek from Kyle is going to show Rory's hand of
Savannah Cradle, Nettle Sentinel, Heritage Druid. Oh, there's a glimpse in there. All right, so that quickly goes to the graveyard.
Yep. And so it's Birchlore Rangers, Heritage Druid, Nettle Sentinel, 2 lands is what it looks like to me. Yep.
Deathrite Shaman beatdown.
Serves in with the Squire.
Just drew an Absolute Law, which he can cast off of his Savannah. And we know Kyle has a Bolt in his hand, so this is actually pretty sweet. Like you know.
You make Kyle use his Bolt to kill your Elvish Visionary.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like it.
It's greater than 0. It's not a ton, but.
Oh, he can't even use. No, yeah, he can use the Bolt. Never mind, because Pendlehaven does not pump up to 4.
All right, so Visionary down. And Nettle Sentinel. Not great to have to use your Bolt on the Elvish Visionary, but it stops any looping shenanigans at least.
Right. Kyle's had some pretty nice Dark Confidants.
Yep. Although, understanding that Rory won game 2 kind of beating down, it's unlike this is a matchup where his life total is like, it's not going to be taxed too much. Yeah. He can definitely take some nickel and dimes and the confidence can add up, but he's not normally going to be under pressure in that way.
Kyle looks like he's going to go for the Sylvan Library here. Oh, nope, Tarmogoyf instead. He fooled me by having it behind the other cards.
Well, he still could have cast Sylvan Library off his Deathrite Shaman.
He's choosing not to, leaving up mana to be able to
yeah, it probably means he has Abrupt Decay or a Bolt, or well, not a Bolt because Bolt doesn't represent any disruption anymore, but
Yeah, Rory's game plan this game was ground down to a halt once that glimpse left.
Yeah, I mean,
much
from
like
his
last
board,
game when both Green Sun's units hit the bin.
from his board, last turn of that turn of Visionary 2 lands with Cradle in hand, Rory could have realistically gone off the following turn.
Yes.
Like that's how little setup it takes.
Yep. Another land on the Bob trigger.
Breaks the mire. Things feel like they're going quite poorly for Rory here, but he's sandbagged enough creatures where he actually still has some hope if he draws Glimpse of Nature.
And he can sort of mini combo if he gets another Visionary also, because
Yeah.
he has this Symbiote in play. In the meantime, the Abyss doesn't have to block yet. He's going to anyway.
He's going to block,
he gets to block and
when
then
they'll
return.
send return
Yeah,
with
yeah,
his Wirewood
all
Symbiote.
right. Cool.
There's Sylvan Library.
And
Scavenging Ooze.
Scavenging Ooze.
Again, Glimpse and we can just go.
How'd we do?
I don't think so.
It's not looking like he got there.
He drew his Green Zenith.
Middle Sentinel re-enters play, as does Heritage Druid. If he has one more elf, then we can start making lots of mana.
Another noteworthy, sort of minor thing, but significant thing that happened in this game, Kyle used Deathrite Shaman to get the Glimpse out of there. An angle that some of these elf deck has is Zenith for Eternal Witness.
Right.
To Eternal Witness back the Glimpse.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So, I do not believe this is actually a part of Rory's deck. I don't believe he has one, but
Right.
I've
But
seen
that's possible.
Witness
Yeah.
in other elf decks. So.
Savvy play.
There's Pyroclasm, which we have checked by absolute law, but there could be a
Abrupt Decay in the mix.
yes. Bloodbraid,
Extirpate.
Although Extirpate is a bit of a non-bow because we would like to tag that Glimpse if we could.
Right. We will then untap our lands.
So now, if we have an Abrupt Decay, this is,
Real good if we have an Abrupt Decay.
yeah,
But we don't.
we do not.
That's okay.
Just crashing in with our monsters.
Large dinosaurs will work their magic anyway. So Rory, I guess, will go to 10.
Another Goyf.
Yeah.
We're still very
still drawing live,
if
yeah.
we're Rory.
Little tap on the top of his deck to see if he got there.
It was a Symbiote, I think.
I think it was as well. Yes, it was. So he'll play it. This means that he can pretty much infinitely block the 4/5s.
Yeah, he's definitely got time. The problem is now we know about Pyroclasm in Kyle's hand, so if he ever finds a way to blow up that absolute law, Rory's House of Cards just collapses.
Yeah. He has Abrupt Decay and 1 Maelstrom Pulse.
Ooh. We have a Green Zenith for a ton because we tapped our Cradle here.
So this is going to be a Regal Force.
Yeah. Boom.
There he is. Now,
good.
does he have another... He has another Wirewood Symbiote in play on the other side of the Absolute Law
Yeah.
that's off camera right now. So that's going to draw 6.
So, for all of the board presence and discard and everything that Kyle's done this game, he might not get another turn.
That's right. It's important for Rory to get this done quickly, however, because there's a minute and a half left on the clock, and if we're on the beatdown plan...
Well, if we're on the beatdown plan, we're killing him this turn. It's a very good chance we're actually just killing him.
This turn?
Yeah.
How?
Just mirror entity and enough on taps.
Do we have the mana to cast a Mirror Entity?
I assume that we can get our Cradle untapped for play another one or Crop Rotate for another Cradle.
Sure.
Through this sequence. He has 2 Gaia's Cradles in his deck, so Crop Rotation still can get us enough mana to do everything. So now is where things get very complicated for Rory.
I think he's going to start out by using Verdant Catacombs to go get a land out of his deck.
Using his land drop for the turn. A pretty big cost, but it's possible he just needs the mana up front to start doing his thing. So for those of you not that familiar with the engine, what's going to start happening here, assuming Rory can start going, is getting Nettle Sentinels in play. Now when he glimpses, he's going to be cantripping off all of his creatures, so he's likely to find more creatures. His Nettle Sentinels, he can use Nettle Sentinels to Heritage Druid or Birch-Lore Rangers to generate mana, and they untap on every play. So that's how you start cycling through your deck.
And Rory is now going to be under a glimpse, so he's going to be able to start garnering card advantage on top of this mana. Rory is also turn 0. It is relevant to know. You see the clock at the top of the screen in between our 2 players' deck archetypes.
He's got to tap that Nettle Sentinel for mana because he's going to get a trigger here. So he draws, he's going to draw 2.
Yep. And so now he can start using that Nettle Sentinel to start casting 1-drops, and then once he gets a Heritage Druid,
so now
he can start garnering.
So he's adding 2 green for Birch-Lore Ranger here.
He's at 1 green.
Korean Ranger, 1 green floating.
Yep.
The Birch-Lore Ranger on taps, and now every elf he plays between that and the Nettle Sentinel is net even on mana. If you can find another Nettle Sentinel, then he's net plus on mana through each of these iterations. And he's found a second Nettle Sentinel, so that's a big piece. Now,
no, that's the first one that he returned with.
No, he's got 2 now.
Oh, he's got 2 now.
Okay.
So now he's garnering cards and mana.
Yeah, now he's starting to get the ball rolling a little bit here. Symbiote.
Just to keep going. I'm going to be able to, should he like misstep, the Symbiote will definitely be able to get him out of any log jams that he gets himself into mentally.
Yeah.
Making sure to trigger each of his triggers, pointing to each of them. That's one of the things that you folks at home should definitely remember to do now, especially with the trigger rules having been worded slightly differently to be a little bit more jailhouse.
Yes.
At higher level Magic, such as the Star City Games Open Series. And he's being sure to point at everything as it happens, the Glimpse of Natures and the untapping.
Yeah. And Rory can sort of be patient and thinking about how he wants to go through his motions here because we're in untimed turns.
Yep. Oh, we're not timed anymore? I can finally stretch my legs.
Yeah.
I think Rory's thinking about maybe just stopping for the turn.
No way. He's got to keep... I mean, he might have fizzled. It's possible he's run out of creatures because his hand looks like he's got 2 Abrupt Decays in it.
Yeah, he's also got a Green Sun Zenith.
So he might not be able to keep going here, but he definitely can't stop now.
So what's he thinking about?
He might have fizzled. It's unclear. We can't see his hand, but if his hand's like... I mean, not fizzled because...
Right.
Zenith can find a Visionary to give him another draw in the worst case scenario, but he might not have a clear path of how to proceed from here.
He also has more symbiote activations, I believe. At least one. He might have 2. Although he has made his land drop for the turn.
Yes, he did. He did play a land.
So we are going to activate a symbiote.
No, that's our Aquarian Ranger we're activating.
Oh, well, that's Aquarian Ranger we're activating. Sorry.
All right.
And that is a symbiote we're activating.
Yeah, we're symbioting so we can basically cantrip again. So we're adding 2 green. All right, so Aquarian Ranger.
Going to draw a card. What's Rory digging for here? Is he just trying to find the mirror entity and then he can go off and just attack? What can he attack with?
Yeah, it's not clear. It's hard to track which creatures are summoning sick. I mean, when Rory actually starts going, he can basically generate either infinite or close to it. He's just found his mirror entity, so.
And he probably, now do you want to keep that in your, if you're Rory, do you want to keep that in your hand or do you want to have that be in play?
I mean, it's fairly safe to play. It depends on a number of things. If he can actually find another Cradle, then it's super safe to play because it's just going to be...
It's Abrupt Decay or bust for Kyle at that point.
Yeah, and we can safely assume... Well, I guess we can't safely assume, but you had to imagine he would have played Abrupt Decay by now on something at some point.
Absolutely. On the absolute loss that he could have Pyroclasmed.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Rory doesn't know that that's a sequence, but yeah.
Right. Rory is still on turn 0, by the way.
So now we're gonna bet. I guess we're using our other symbiote here.
I think that's our last symbiote. Be able to cast an Elvish Visionary, which will untap his guys and draw 2 cards.
Yep. Finding a Finhorn Elf and a Birchlore Ranger so we can keep going. I think they're indicating which creatures have come into play this turn and which are not summoning sick.
Which is going to be very important.
Yeah, it's an important distinguishing feature. Now, if what we're supposing is actually the case, that means that Rory can actually generate lethal because there's only 3 blockers on Kyle's side of the table against 4 creatures that can attack, assuming Rory can generate sufficient mana.
Yes. Rory's going to have to get up to 14 mana.
Well, yeah. He probably wants to go a little bit over to be safe, and he needs to pay 3 for the mirror entity, so. So Finhorn. Assuming he had enough gas here, I'm a little surprised he didn't Zenith for a 3rd Nettle Sentinel a little bit earlier.
I agree.
Could have helped a lot with the mana.
Yeah, getting the 3rd one for the Heritage Druid to just like go extremely turbo. A little bit surprising.
But I guess that Zenith is also a pretty big insurance policy.
I don't know what he's insuring against.
Well, fizzling off, and then you have fizzling off by drawing too many spells.
A bunch of lands or something.
Lands and spells, yeah.
He's showing him that he's going to just. This is what I have in my hand. I'm going to combo you. I will show you if you make me.
Yep.
But
and he's showing him that he can mirror entity kill.
Yep. And
that's the match.
Kyle's going to.
And he shows a Pyroclasm that Absolute Law had covered against.
Yep. So Rory Draxler probably going to be in top 8 with Elves.
Yep, very impressive. And again, that shows you know, just actually just from nothing to everything in one shot. Does not take a ton of setup for that deck to just go off the rails.
Yeah.
And yep, just enough mana. Was able to Zenith for a Regal Force, and then that was it.
Yeah. Once Elves gets going, man, against Jund was able to deal with Elves when it was playing the fair game, but once it started comboing, once it became a combo deck.
Yeah, no counters, and you know, it's just his hand was kind of on the table because if he had any disruptive elements, they would have been cast on previous turns, and that's just it.
Yeah. So Kyle Dunne, unfortunately, we will probably not be seeing Jund in the top 8.
Yeah. But a good run nonetheless.
Yeah, very good run. Impressive. And Elves going to return to the top 8.
Yeah, it's been, like we said, it's been a bit. It was a big metagame player about a year, 18 months ago, was showing up all over the place and doing well in tournaments, but there's